Democracy Now! Is underwritten by the French Broad Food Co-op, a grocery store focusing more on people than profit by providing living wages, supporting local farmers, and being community-owned. Citizens have a voice in how the co-op functions. Everyone can shop, and anyone can join.
I'm not strong enough to stay away. Can't run from you. I just run back to you. Like a moth, I'm drawn into your flame.
Listening to the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. 103.7 on your dial and globally at WPVMFM.org.
Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me? I'm your native son. I'm a train that calls the city.
You're listening to the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. 103.7 on your dial and streaming globally on WPVMFM.org. This is Mark Lieberman, your host, and we're going to have a really fun show today, a little unusual for me. I've got more people in this studio than I've ever had, plus a guitar. So let's kick it off. The group that's assembled is not exactly an ad hoc group, but they call themselves the Happy Together group. I'm going to introduce them by name, and then I will let them say why they've gotten together, why they decided to get on this radio show, and what we're trying to accomplish. I have Blaine Greenfield. Say hello, Blaine.
Hello, Mark.
And that's a voice you've heard on this station before. Ellen Pappas.
Hi there, Mark.
And we have Ruth Planey. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, you are. Thank you very much, Mark.
And Marcy Bernstein.
Thanks for having us.
So, Blaine, why don't you kick it off and tell us what the Happy Together group is about?
Okay, thanks, Mark, and thanks for having us. And this originated, I guess, out of an idea I had with Marcy Bernstein a few months back, and we wanted to do something a little bit different in the Asheville area, where we could showcase some of the many fine performers in the Asheville area, but also we wanted to have a fundraiser for two outstanding groups in the Asheville area, and they are Attic Salt Theater Company, which Marcy will be talking about, and they're also Pisgah Legal. And so what we tried to do is get some of the really fine talent in the Asheville area, and you'll meet some of them in the area in just a second, and to have them perform, but not just a typical review where you just sit there and just kind of listen to some really good music, but we wanted to have them perform songs that I grew up with, songs that they grew up with, and naturally they're also going to be performing arguably the greatest rock song of all time, and that's Happy Together. And
Arguably.
That's what
okay, arguably.
And from a legal standpoint, you could
Argue
discuss
that.
that with me, right. But that's where we came up with the idea of the Happy Together review, because Turtles, of course, did Happy Together, and that's sort of how it all came together with this thing. We just want to have a lot of fun and maybe raise some funds for some good organizations in the Asheville area.
So did you get this group together? Is it your fault?
I guess so. Well, it's I guess everybody's fault. Marcy and I started talking about this, I guess, several months ago, and she gave her blessing, I guess.
Sure. So I'm the executive director of Attic Salt Theater Company. So we're a local nonprofit. We produce theater for kids and for adults around town. And Blaine, fortunately for us, sits on our board. And so in conversations of projects that could come up, events we could run this summer, Blaine said, what would you think if I produced a cabaret in your studio? And I said, that would be fantastic and amazing. And that's what started it. So my part of this group is mostly that I'm in charge of the larger organization and the studio where it's going to be held. So I help with the marketing stuff, and then these other lovely people are in charge of the actual production. So Blaine contacted me and said, I got Ellen on board, and she's bringing all these other awesome people on board, and they've kind of really been doing the actual musical production end of it.
And then, Mark, just to finish the thought of that, so I turned to Ellen, a good friend of mine, and I always wanted to have Ellen perform. And I was fortunate to see you a couple of years ago in a cabaret performance, and she was just great. But she was playing stuff that was okay, the music, but it was a lot of Broadway-type stuff. And I said, Ellen, do you do also other stuff? And Ellen said, occasionally I've been known to sing a song or two. And I'll let Ellen maybe jump in and talk about how you got Ruth and some of the other people on board, if you would.
Well, when Blaine approached me with the original idea of doing a cabaret,
I like the soft voice, but
that's my voice
Step
at this
it up.
time of the morning.
It's very talk radio.
I sound like Tallulah Bankhead at this time of the morning. Maybe I'll get my own radio show one day. But Blaine approached me and said he wanted to do a cabaret, and he wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do the typical, Broadway musical, Andrew Lloyd Webber or Lerner and Loeb. He wanted something different. And so we were brainstorming, and he loves Happy Together. I have known this for years. And we came up with, why don't we do period music? Why don't we do, as Blaine said, the music that we grew up with? Music from the 50s, music from the 60s, music from the 70s, something that we're familiar with, something that everybody can sing along with, something that
everybody that was born before, 1980, right? Because we're in Asheville, and the average age of the people sitting in this room, I'm not even going to say on the air. but there's a very young population here who probably don't necessarily resonate with this music, or maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you are, and I'll have Marcy talk about that, because the amazing thing about this, I had thought what you said, that it was only for people, our generation, if so. But Marcy, if you tell the story where they were having rehearsal, and how your
That's
daughter,
what I just thought of. So I have a 6.5-year-old daughter, and they came by the studio to take a look and sing a couple songs to practice, and so we were there letting them in, and they started singing Lollipop. And my daughter went, I know this song, and jumped on stage and sang with them. And now she's certain she's in the show. She has a poodle skirt. She's planning on coming in full regalia, and she thinks she's in the show.
She is.
So Ellen, let's go back to you for a moment. You've been singing locally in various venues with
Ruth. I've been doing a lot of singing with Ruth. Ruth and I like to work together, and we do a lot of oldies, music even from the 40s and the 30s. And Ruth has a stand-up bass. She will be bringing that to the performance. And
she didn't bring it into the studio today.
We couldn't fit
we
it.
couldn't fit
My
it in.
valet was a little busy this morning,
I see.
so I let him sleep in.
You could use a smaller instrument, but in any event.
Yeah, heaven forbid that I could have picked the fiddle.
So the two of you, Ruth and Ellen, have sung together
for years.
And again, let me understand the concept of cabaret versus revue. Cabaret, I just think of Joel Grey. What am I missing? What's a cabaret?
A cabaret is generally built around a show or a theme that has a almost like a script, a beginning and an end. A revue is literally choosing music, different pieces, doesn't necessarily have to be following a storyline. It's just really good music.
And the other thing, Mark, too, that's, I think, going to make this a little bit different, as we mentioned, we want people to dance, we want people to sing along, and there's even going to be some audience participation. For example, when we do Yellow Submarine, we're going to get out bubbles, and people are going to start blowing bubbles. We're going to do Lollipop, and we have lollipops for people. So it's just something we don't want them to just sit back and listen.
Right.
We want them to participate. I think, as a segue, Ellen, I think that might be a great opportunity for you to
Besides Attic Salt as being one of the beneficiaries, we mentioned Pisgah Legal Services. So that's sort of an odd grouping of a theater group and a legal services for people who otherwise can't afford to retain a lawyer at market value. How did those two concepts merge?
Well, just as you and I were talking off the air, Mark, that Asheville is just kind of a really cool place where people do things for other people, not just self-serving. So even when I talked with Marcy about the idea, we said, yes, we'd love to raise some funds for Attic Salt, but also we'd like to give back to the community. And Pisgah Legal is just one of my favorite groups in the area, and maybe a little bit at the end I can talk about Pisco Legal. But they just do such good work, and we thought that, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could bring them into the fold as well, to help them out too, and to help spread the word about Pisco Legal. So another thing we're going to do here is that each of the groups who are sponsoring this, Addict Salt and Pisco Legal, will get up and talk a little bit about their organizations, and then we're going to have a booth for them to share information with people, just so that the community is smarter about these two great organizations.
Okay, so before we get into musical review, and I realize I'm delaying it, let's tell the audience, when is this review going to take place, and where, and how can they get more information?
Well, it's going to be on July 22nd and 29th at the Addict Salt Theater Company. Marcy, the address there is?
It's Addict Salt Theater Art Space. It's in the building called the Mill at Riverside, and it's in very large letters outside the building, the Mill at Riverside. It's 2002 Riverside Drive. Addict Salt Space is Studio 42.
Is located, all that good stuff. I don't know, Facebook Live, I guess we can show that. But this is the website. Just go to theaddictsalt.org, and then scroll down halfway. You'll see the Happy Together review. That'll give people everything they need to know about the show in one easy, convenient location.
Okay, and for those of you who spell better than I do, review in this case is REVUE.
Okay, thank
Happy
you.
Together review.
Theatrical term.
And both of these dates are of the performance are Sunday evening.
Another reason we came up with Sunday evening is because a lot of the theater community works, as you know, Mark's in a show right now, Robin Hood at Montford Park, and they have shows on Friday and Saturday nights. This one theater has a show on Sunday night, but most theaters don't have shows on Sunday night. So in discussing with Ellen and Marcy, we came up with the idea that wouldn't it be good if we did something that there's not a lot of other stuff happening. They don't have other shows happening at the time with the exception of Montford. And so that's where we came up with the idea of Sunday. We also kept it early. We started at 7 o'clock to 8:30. It's also kid-friendly, so we're encouraging people to bring children. It's not going to be a real late night.
Right, and it's great because the people that are coming apparently are the retirees and the children who don't have to work Monday morning or go to school Monday morning, so Sunday night fits perfectly.
Yeah.
All right.
Sunday.
Let's do some music. You want to do some music? Let's give people the idea of what kind of songs.
Well, as a little segue into the music,
Yes.
when we got together to brainstorm about what songs we were going to pick, we purposely thought of things that people would know. And if nothing else, they're going to know the chorus and they'll be able to sing along. And as Marcy said, her daughter knew Lollipop, then she knew Yellow Submarine. So these are songs, the five of us that are in this review cover kind of an age span. So I think there'll be something you'll like, Mark.
And who are the five people that are actually in the review?
Ellen, who are they?
Ruth Planey, of course, Carol Dermott, Philippe Andre Coquet, and Ryan Garcia.
So,
And then myself.
And Richard.
okay.
And we have a special guest star. We want to know if somebody is in the building.
And who is the special guest star?
Well, you have to come and
you're not
see.
telling us. I see. It's the teaser. All right.
And also
And let
Richard
me-
Schulman.
And let me tell you, he's going to steal this show, I think.
Yes.
The special guest.
And
Yes.
we have a fabulous musical director, Richard Schulman, who is definitely going to make us all look better than we already are.
Okay. What has Richard Schulman done before that people should know about? Perhaps?
He is amazing. If you look at his resume on the computer, this man has recorded 26 albums of his own, plus a dozen for other people. When you look at that, you'll understand why he's an adjunct professor at UNCA in jazz piano.
Great.
Pretty cool guy.
So what are you planning on singing for us today?
Well, we're going to start with an a cappella number, and this is the number that Dagny was helping us out with, and Dagny's going to be helping us.
Okay.
When we're during the show, we have an assignment for her, so she actually is going to be part of the show.
And she's just a little cutie.
She is.
All right. Well, let's start it off. For a cappella, just for again the uninitiated, means you're not using the guitar. I'm just trying to be clear here.
That's true.
All right.
It's
That's
sans
true. All right.
guitar.
Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop. Bum, call my baby lollipop, tell you why. His kiss is sweeter than an apple pie. And when he does a shaky rockin' dance, man, I haven't got a chance. I call him lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop. Bum, sweeter than candy on a stick, huckleberry, cherry, or lime. If you had a choice, he'd be your pick. But lollipop is mine. Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop. Bum, crazy way he thrills me.
Oh, fade out there. Okay.
Fade out there.
Fade out.
All right.
And
well-
see, Mark, you got the percussion right off the bat.
Well,
you did the pop.
The great thing about that song is the lyrics are relatively easy to remember. Unlike, the 14,000 lines people have to remember in the productions at Attic Salt or Montfort.
Can I ask, I guess, Ruth or Ellen, is that when you do this, will you also teach us how to do that pop? You were teaching Dagny. It was so cute.
Oh, it is. It's really easy. You just you make an O with your mouth, and you keep your finger flat against your cheek, and then she's doing it. Hey, if I can do it, anybody
It's like
can do
flossing, isn't it?
I'm
Not exactly.
no, I don't have multiple fingers in my mouth, just one.
So an added benefit is that people, not only they can pop along if they want, they
Yes.
can participate. And the cutest thing was watching Mark's producer, Shelley, in the back, and she couldn't help herself. And I was doing
She
it
did
too.
it.
You're dancing, you're bopping along. It's that kind of music, Mark.
See, so you'll come to this review, and you will learn a new skill.
Excellent. Okay, great. That will serve you well.
Yes, you can walk around Asheville popping people.
So, I think you said you were going to be handing out things, props, things for people to participate, lollipops, not just for eating the lollipops, but for...
Well, also, there are going to be some kazoo playing. And what was the song they're doing the kazoo playing with?
Tequila. Tequila.
That's a song.
That's a
as well as a
song.
drink. Okay.
It's a song from the 50s. It's an instrumental, and we've decided that we're doing it with kazoos, and we do expect audience participation.
I see.
Because we will come out into the audience and make people do this. We will.
And we will have kazoos for some people, too, as an added benefit. You might even get lucky and get a kazoo that day as well.
And if you come early, you'll teach people how to use the kazoo, because it's not intuitive, right?
Well, no, the kazoo is one of the things. Do you know what a kazoo is? Have you ever played it?
Yeah,
brought
it's
one.
yes.
You brought one?
All the time. Does anybody have one in the studio? No.
See, then if you come, then you will not only have learned a new skill, but you will be able to play a musical instrument.
I see. Okay. All right.
I think Ellen's getting the kazoo, I think I know, Ruth, because you're on time constraint, too.
Yes.
I want to make sure we hear the other song you're going to be singing, and you're going to be doing another song as well, or today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Ellen's going to be heading out. I think.
Are you asking me to do some kind of a solo or
Well,
something?
no. Here's
We want to get
kazoo.
your next
No,
song in.
Oh.
Ellen's getting ready with. Well, first of all, kazoo. You're going
Well,
to do
Ellen
that.
is our artistic director, so I'm not
Just
sure
so you
what
know
she
how
has
this works.
set.
Just so you have an idea how this works. Tequila.
I see. That's excellent. I think my fourth grade teacher confiscated that when I was playing that in the
Wait,
classroom.
and is that the one word tequila?
That's
okay,
that's
that's
the lyric.
That's it.
Is that at the end?
It's throughout.
Yeah. So
you say it a couple times.
You'll also teach the audience how to sing along.
Oh,
too?
absolutely.
They'll know all the lyrics.
It's like Mark said, that's about my speed. I can do with one word
Yeah.
lyrics. That's going to be a great song.
Who popularized that song?
Pee Wee Herman
Did he?
in
Oh,
the
that's right.
in the 80s. Yeah, Pee Wee Herman did.
But it'd come out at a 50s song, 50s or 60s.
Yes,
along
I'd
with
imagine
those.
it was popular before then, but I know it as the Pee Wee Herman dance from the 80s.
All right, so you're going to keep the audience entertained. They're going to participate. Tell us a little about, again, the space that you have. Are we going to be on car table chairs, or people going to dance? What?
Yes, and all of that.
Okay.
So the studio, Attic Salt Theater Art Space, is a 2,300 square foot, gorgeous, big studio. It's just a big open space. We have a little tiny platform stage in the corner, and then we just kind of set out chairs for each show accordingly. So it will be sort of a standard audience setup, but with aisles and a little dance space in the front. So you can and are encouraged, I believe, to pop out of your seats and boogie in the aisle.
Great.
Yep. Oh, and just want to mention, it's very, very important that people show up in costumes. Costumes. You can dress
You mean
from the 50s, or be the hippie from the 60s, or be the disco diva from the 70s. We encourage people to be silly and have fun, because I can tell you, this is going to be a blast.
But you'll let people come in regular street clothes if they don't have the costume. Is that right?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Well,
No, obviously we'll let you in.
Well-
even you, Mark, we'll let you in.
Well, fortunately, you're not doing anything from hair, though, because I don't think you'd want to encourage people to come.
No.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you want
no, we're
you
not
want
doing that one.
You want clothes, though.
Clothes would be nice.
Okay.
Unless it's a really, really hairy suit, like Big Bird or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
Double entendre. Very good, Harry. All right. What else are you going to be able to tell us about the program?
one song before Ellen has to leave.
Well,
I'd like to hear another song.
Would you like to hear another song before Ruth has to scoot out of
Of course. Blaine's trying to get you out.
Yes.
You're here. It's Ruth that has to leave.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have another engagement. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let's get to the next musical song, musical piece,
What do you want to do here, Ellen?
and that's going to be with guitar.
We're gonna do Dream.
All right. Let's make sure we get the mic positioned correctly.
And I'll bet, Mark, that most of your listeners have heard this song before as well.
Dream, 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 dream. When I want you in my arms, when I want you
nice. Quite beautiful.
Thank you.
You guys harmonize very well together.
We've heard that before, but thank you.
Thank you so much. You ought to hear it when there's 5 of us doing harmonies.
And then on top of that, Ellen, not only is there going to be the keyboardist, Richard Schulman, but I understand now you also added a drummer to this as well? Okay, so do you know that person's name yet? But we have a drummer, mysterious drummer.
We have a serious drummer, and then we
Serious
have...
and mysterious.
Serious and mysterious, and we do have 2 guitarists, which is Carol Dermott and myself, and then we have Ruth on the stand-up bass. So we have a whole lot of instruments, and of course it's a lot fancier than what I just played because it's a full sound.
Excellent. Okay. So you put a lot of time into this. How long ago did you start thinking about doing this?
Well, we started thinking about this, Mark, I guess, in February or something, give or take. And Ellen and I had talked about the fact that, it would take a while to put on. So we realized that it would, we'd have to put together a cast and crew, and Ellen did a large part of the work on that. And then Ellen, to her credit, we originally told people it'd just be a couple of rehearsals. Maybe, Ellen, if you talk as the role of director, kind of what's been involved in terms of putting this on in rehearsals.
Well, the first thing is once we made a decision on what we were going to do, it was a matter of casting, and that was actually not that difficult because I knew that we needed Ruth. I knew that I wanted Carol, and Philippe and Ryan are perfect assets. Together, our voices really, really work. As far as...
So let's talk about Philippe for a second, because I know Philippe because we were in production, Guys and Dolls, and he was the director. I had no idea that he was a singer.
He can sing, he can dance, and he is a riot. That's all I'm going to say. He is. What do you think, Ruth?
Oh, Philippe's a cutie, and so is Ryan. Philippe, your socks are going to be knocked off when you hear his solo.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Has a very nice, I guess it's a baritone? Is it baritone?
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice voice. And yes, he loves to dance. He's a crack up.
And he's a riot. He's a director. He's directed you. But this is another side of him that we all get to see. And he's a cutie, as she said.
Yeah.
Ellen, I think, also did something which was a lot of fun, but was a great idea, Ellen. And just after we'd done the cast, before you even decided music, you had us all together and talk a little bit of that process, because that was just a fun evening.
Well, one of the things, since this is a musical review and not a play that you stage fully and with a script, so we could be a little more flexible. My idea of directing this was let me get a lot of input from everybody else. It really was a group effort. We came up with a list of songs, right, Ruth?
Yeah, we sat there around the pizza that Blaine very kindly provided for us, and
Yay,
threw out
Blaine.
different ideas, and then went, well, between these 2 songs, which one would people know more? Which would be more recognizable to them, and that's how we came up with the set list.
And that's, and it really was a cooperative effort, which was brilliant. The one thing that I really had to do was I had to pull most of the music together, which I have this big, thick book now with, the scores for all these different songs. But it was a cooperative effort, and it was easy because what we did, the first night that we were together, that Blaine took us to the pizza place, we sat around the table in the pizza place, and we started singing a few of the songs. It's the first time we ever sang together.
Yeah.
And we sang, and there were people going, "What are you doing? Where's
the manager?
Show? Where is this?"
No, they didn't want to throw us out.
They were literally, telling us, "Let us know when this is happening. Let us know when the show is happening," because the first sit down was just everything just fell into place.
Let me pause for a station ID. You're listening to the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina, 103.7 on your dial, streaming globally at WPVMFM.org. And I'm sitting in a somewhat crowded studio with Blaine, Ellen, Ruth, Marcy, my producer, and a guitar. And we're talking about the Happy Together review, which is going to be performing, I guess is still the right word, even though performing with active audience participation on July 22nd and July 29th at the location of the Attic Salt Theater Company, 2002 Riverside Drive. Did I have that right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ellen. I think I might have interrupted your flow.
No. And the directing has been, we originally decided we were only going to do 2 full rehearsals. And me being the beast that I am, I was able to get everybody together several times before we met with the musical director. And right off the bat, things started flowing immediately. And I'm really grateful for the cast. That's all I can say. They make me look like I'm doing a good job.
How many songs are you planning on going through?
25.
25. And how long does that take?
It's going to be about an hour and a half, maybe a 10-minute run over. I've been timing the individual songs, but of course you have people applauding. We will have people participating. But when you hear the music, time is going to fly. It will end up sounding like it's too short.
I have to thank Ellen and also the cast in that when we had spoken to them originally, we were telling them, well, it won't be a lot of work. It'll just be, 2 rehearsals, and that's no big deal. And Ellen, and not only did she call extra rehearsals, but she got all the cast members willing to participate in them. And participating in it doesn't seem like they're giving you a hard time on it. They seem to be having a fun time, actually.
What do you think, Ruth? What do you think?
No pressure, Ruth.
Really, no.
I'm looking right at her.
I know.
She's got to be careful.
I'm having a really fun time. no, we are. We're having a fun time. No, today's Tuesday. Okay, Sunday. Yeah, that was, rehearsal was 5 hours. But it was the first time we did my song, which is a Beach Boys song, with Richard, the musical director, on the keyboard. And gosh, when they started singing harmony behind me, I got chills. And I think I screamed at the end of the song when it was, oh my God, you guys sound so good. Because they did. So it's paying off. It is just really, really paying off. And we're having a good time. It's a very talented group of people that she has pulled together. I feel honored to be part of it.
Couldn't do it without you.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I would like to say, too, everybody is actually, we go to these rehearsals. I have a friend who has a studio in her house, and she's let us use that. And I've got to say that we laugh. We are having such a good time. We were having so much fun pulling this together. We really like each other. We really like the music. And the concept is something that everybody has contributed to. And that makes it really wonderful.
Go ahead, Blaine.
No, it's fun, too, to watch you rehearse. It doesn't seem any of you have an ego. Like, it was really fun to watch the other day that somebody was singing a song, and then somebody else said, well, let me take the lead. And they just switched, and there was no back and forth on it. It just was a natural flow. So I was very impressed with that.
It's a jam session.
It's a jam session, yes. No divas.
Mm-mm.
It's a jam session, no divas. Yeah, everybody is just, hey, you do that. Hey, I'll do that. Hey. And I do want to say what's really wonderful is to be in the Attic Salt space, because I know this is new space for them, and they have been just fabulous. Come in, do what you have to do. The space is yours, and they've made it so easy for us. I mean, they've just made it so easy for us.
Ruth, I just want to say goodbye because I think you have to leave.
Yes, I do. I do have to go. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing all of you out in the audience, standing up and singing and dancing and, I don't know, swaying your hips to or whatever your little heart desires.
You want to do one before you go?
I think you're on time.
Do you want to whip it out really quick?
Yes.
Okay.
Let
All right.
me just do a C here.
Another guitar.
No guitar.
No. We'll do this a cappella.
I just need to get the C.
I knew that was a C. I could have done that for you.
All right, 1, 2.
I'm drawing a complete blank here.
I'm directing you.
Thank you.
Pack up all your cares and woes. Here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me
is he. Bye, bye, blackbird. No one here can love or understand me. Oh, what hard luck stories they all hand me. Make my bed and light the light. I'll be home late tonight. Blackbird, bye-bye. Pack up all my cares and woes. Here I go, singing love. Bye-bye, bye-bye, blackbird. Ba-bum-ba-bum-bum. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is he. Bye-bye, 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 blackbird. Ba-bum-ba-bum-bum-bum. No one here can love or understand me. Oh, what hard luck stories they all hand me. Make my bed and light the light. I'll be home late tonight. Blackbird, bye-bye, bye-bye. Blackbird, bye-bye.
Sorry about that.
It's early morning.
It is really hard.
And bye-bye, Ruth.
Bye. And we haven't done that for what, like 2 years?
2 years. We haven't done it for 2 years. It's not in the show, but it's
It's not in the show.
No, it's not in the show. But hey, our senior memories were working. Thank you. Bye.
And I have to ask you,
Bye,
Ellen,
Ruth.
as Ruth,
Bye, Ruth.
bye, Ruth. But as Ruth is departing, is that something? The show there are going to be a lot of songs that people can clap along and
Yes.
and snap their fingers to. Is that something we'll also learn how to snap our fingers?
Expect us to come down off the stage, come into the audience, and be boogieing with you. Expect it. Expect a special guest appearance. Expect the unexpected. We want people to sing and dance and walk out of there feeling happy, which is why we are the Happy Together Review.
Well, I don't understand why you're so happy. I mean, this is,
had a cup of coffee.
I thought maybe it was because of the recent nomination of the new Supreme Court justice, and you were happy.
Oh, yeah, I'm thrilled.
Wait, talk in the microphone if you're going to talk political.
I'm thrilled.
I feel like we're doing our part to combat all the miserableness that we see on the news all day. I feel like there's 2 Sunday nights in July when you can come by Attic Salt and you can just let it all go for an hour and a half and just put a little bit of joy back in your life.
Now,
Here,
I was
here.
just curious. You mentioned before, or we talked about your daughter. So, in terms of she's wearing what that evening?
Oh, she has a full-on 50s poodle skirt uniform.
Will you be wearing something?
Perhaps.
Something.
Perhaps. We have an 80s party coming up at Attic Salt on Saturday, so I'm still prepping my 80s gear before I shift back in time to a little 70s, 60s, 50s thing.
I understand that Attic Salt actually has some a little more serious productions. Not that this isn't serious. Music is serious. But you don't just do reviews and cabarets.
Oh, no, as a matter of fact, we've never done a review or cabaret before. Back in, 20 years ago, we did a couple of cabarets of Tom Waits music. Not joyous and happy, but awfully fun to do. And I want to bring that back eventually. But no, we do kind of all sorts of stuff. We do shows for kids, which are original, written in-house by myself and my business partner, Jeff Ketanese. And then we do shows for adults. So we have a show opening at the Magnetic Theater on August 2nd, which is called Talking With. It's celebrating women. It's 11 female monologues that was written in 1982 by Jane Martin. It's a stunningly beautiful show with 11 phenomenal local actresses. And so, yeah, we have all kinds of stuff going on.
Well, just a point of interest. 20 individual monologues?
No, 11.
11,
11.
okay. And is there a common theme? Without giving too much away?
Sure. The common theme, to me, I'm directing the show, is aspects of female strength. This show was written in 1982, so it's not political. It's not current. It's not part of the Me Too movement. It's not any of that. It's just stories of women that you don't see every day. An ex-rodeo star who's upset because her family was driven out of the rodeo because of the corporate takeover of the rodeo. There's a fundamentalist snake handler. There's a woman, an actress who's about to go on stage and is struggling with the fact that the audience knows about her from her bio and she doesn't know who they are. Like it's sort of just all kinds of interesting stories that you just don't hear every day.
So I'll say, get tickets.
And again, they can get tickets. How can they get tickets, Marcy?
Information about absolutely everything we do is on atticsalt.org. We have all kinds, 4 events coming up this summer. We have an 80s party on Saturday. We have the Happy Together review. We have Talking With opens at Magnetic on August 2nd. And on August 24th, I am so excited about this, Jennifer Barnhart, who is an amazing puppeteer. She was in the original Broadway cast of Avenue Q. She's on Sesame Street. She's on Julie's Green Room. She's on everything with a puppet you have ever seen. She will be in town visiting us and doing a talkback about life working on Broadway, life in television, and lots of puppets. And so that's on August 24th at Attic Salt Studio. So we have just kind of all sorts of stuff.
An eclectic mix of very different medium, it sounds like.
Very much so, because we have lovely friends who approach us with ideas.
Okay.
And it's
and you're
phenomenal.
open to them.
We love it. We welcome it.
Thereafter, I thought you're also coming up with the other production for the year is also a little bit different than what's typically in Asheville.
Yeah, we have a production in December called Blue Window. It's our whole season this year is from the 80s. Our main stage season will be in December, and that will be the first main stage show we do in our studio.
So let's give a little more time to Pisgah Legal Services, because you mentioned, Blaine, earlier in the broadcast that was one of your favorite organizations. I have had Jim Barrett on the show weeks ago, it would appear. And what attracts you to Pisgah Legal Services? What do they do that you think is important and valuable in this area?
Well, one of my good friends, Tom Gallagher, had worked for Pisgah Legal, and he got me involved a little bit in some of the things that they were doing. And some of the things Tom was specifically doing just kind of blew me away, that he would be helping people who were going to be homeless, and he would help keep them in their homes. He would help people many other different ways. And just because that's Tom's nature, but it's also Pisgah's nature. And again, they provide assistance for people in the Asheville area who don't ordinarily have access to such assistance. And they provide free legal aid to people who live in poverty. They help, more than I'm quoting from the website, 15,000 of the most vulnerable people in our communities annually to meet urgent needs such as housing, safety from abuse, health care, and income. And I've been, Mark, to some of their fundraising functions. They had an evening of jazz, I think they call it, something along those lines. And just every time I go there, I'm just so impressed that they get so much of the Asheville community to donate time to help other people. And again, these are, dare I say it, Mark, and I know you're a lawyer as well, but they actually get lawyers to donate their time to provide help to people, again, who just can't ordinarily afford the help. I guess that's something else I think we've talked a little bit even with Attic Salt, that there's a whole bunch of people in the community who don't participate in theater as well. And I know some of the things we're working on, getting women, minorities,
Sure.
other people involved, because I think that's something that we should all be involved in. And again, back to Pisgah, I also like the fact that a lot of their services, all their service is they're getting attorneys to give pro bono service to people. And that is, they're not charging for the services they're getting for this legal help. And just hearing all that stuff and seeing people, I've actually seen some of the clients that Pisgah has helped, and I've seen them in terms on tape and on YouTube videos. And just every time I see it, I say to myself, that's a good organization. And I think I should mention also, if any of your listeners, Mark, your listeners, want more information about Pisgah Legal, that's available at Pisgah Legal. It's PISGAH legal.org. And again, people can find out more information about Pisgah Legal from them, and we encourage them to check it out. Just a great organization.
I think I would like to do a bit of a segue here, because, this is fun, the Happy Together review. You enjoy singing. You talked about the production values of Attic Salt and Pisgah Legal Services. I think one thing that has impressed me in the relatively short time I've been here is you can be in Asheville and you can appreciate Asheville as a place of beauty, as a place of good food, music, theater, from somewhat of a hedonistic standpoint. You know, come here to enjoy. But I think what is being explored here and what you're doing is there is an interest in doing good, social issues. We are bombarded, as Marcia, you mentioned, and perhaps all of you have mentioned, we're bombarded with negative news, divisive news, polarizing news about people taking various sides on various issues, and there's more than enough opportunity for that. And most of my shows are devoted to trying to explore those things. But what's interesting, I think, and I won't say it makes Asheville unique, I'm sure there are other communities that do similar things, is people are multifaceted here. You want to be involved in doing good things. You also want to explore your own individual talents. You want to be open to talents from various people, from various venues. People come from all parts of the world, essentially, to be here. And I think it sounds to me like this Happy Together review, which may be a one-off. I don't know whether you're going to continue to do this beyond, but you have a lot of connectiveness between people who perform, people who participate, people who contribute services, people that try to benefit the community, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, you know, I don't mean to scare Ellen, but we kind of touched upon this. But yeah, I won't say if this is successful, when it is successful, because it's going to be successful. The goal is that this will be the first of many, and the only thing that may change, hopefully, if we keep it at Attic Salt, if they're willing to host us, to have it in the future. But also, we have the era we can go different directions. We go 90s, 2000, whatever, 80s.
1890s.
Right, and you laugh, Ellen and Ruth, and we'll talk about some of the music. When you play with music you play for them.
One of the things that I'm involved in is the Autumn Players, which is a group here in Asheville. And I used to do poetry readings at a lot of the elder care associations, and I realized that a lot of people were struggling to stay awake, to pay attention, you know, life circumstances being what they are. And we thought, let's see what music does, because we do understand that music fires the synapses and the neurons in the brain. And we went in, Ruth and I went in and started doing music that these people would know. Music from the 30s, music from the 40s, and we found that when we went in and played, people came alive. They were singing with us. These were songs that were familiar to them, and it made a huge, huge difference in their lives, and we keep getting invited back because of that, because we're not doing something to them.
You're not performing at them. You're involving
with them. We're doing it with them, and it's just, it makes a big difference. You know, it thrills us to do it. Just thrills us.
And that sounds like that's part of, again, sort of the thematic concept here that you've emphasized 4 or 5 times. It's not just some very talented musicians, which you have, but this won't be a success unless you get tremendous audience participation and plugging in essentially to what you're doing.
Well, you know, Mark, you say that, and I always thought, in terms of, I go to a lot of theater, a lot of reviews, a lot of cabarets. I've always thought that I've kind of wanted to join in or participate, but I don't sing Sondheim, and I don't, do that.
What do you sing, Blaine? Because we'll give you a chance to do a solo here.
Well, Ellen, I believe, is going to ask me on stage for the last song, Happy Together. I should just do an aside here. I say it's arguably the greatest song of all time. It's also, ironically, it's our wedding song, and I mention that because my beautiful bride, Cynthia, I don't know if she's listening now, but it's also our wedding anniversary today. So that
Congratulations.
that had to be part of it. As I've taught you, Mark, I have to ask you. You have to set me up with a question. Ask me how long we've been married.
Blaine, how long have you been married?
And the answer is, and I do mean it, not long enough. And that's what I do tell people. But so I told Ellen the only thing she was charged with, the only thing I had a right to say the song, you had to have Happy Together be part of it. And I did some research, if I can share with you and our listeners. I knew, I loved it, but also apparently everybody else in the world loves it. Because it's been in only, I think, like 60 films. You name it. In The Heat of the Night, Cool Hand Luke, Towering Inferno. I mean, it goes.
I remember it in Towering Inferno as the building was coming down. They were singing Happy Together.
Used in an ironic way sometimes.
No, what did they really? I don't remember that. But anyway, you name it. But I'll be watching a film, Mad Max. It was in Mad Max. It appears in Suicide Squad. I love the names of the films it's been in. And it's been in The Simpsons 13 times. It's been on The Brady Bunch, The 70s Show, Scrubs, ER. I'll just be watching. Sometimes you'll see a commercial. It's been in like over 50 commercials that somehow it's just like one of these universal songs. No, but
Marcia, can you speak to that?
No,
we know it's Blaine's favorite song, and that's the name of the review. So evidently, you all love that song.
We not only love it, but you ought to hear it in 4-part harmony.
Okay, 4-part harmony.
And of course, the audience is going to be singing with us and dancing with us, and we're all going to be happy together.
Okay.
If I get lucky, my costume will be available by then too. I can't tell you what it is, but I'm looking to.
Oh, come on, Blaine. Give us a sneak preview. What?
Well, it's too bad I didn't show it. It's on the website, I think. It's when I had hair. It's it's like now I feel bad, Mark, when people see me now on Facebook Live too, and I have to tell people, what is it? I'm not losing hair, I'm gaining face. But Cynthia, we're talking about my wife. She always really gets me annoyed. I'll tell people, Mark, I have a 5 head, and for the benefit of people who can't see this on Facebook, but she'll put up 5 fingers, over the eyes and the forehead. But then she says, no, Marcy, she says, no, you don't have 5 head, you have a 6 head. And she'll put in a 6 fingers. So hopefully I'll have more hair at the Happy Together review, if we get lucky.
These things happen when you get older. I can definitely tell you that my eyebrows are migrating down to my chin, and I am buying stock in a razor company. It's necessary. You lose the hair, mine just shifts. What can I tell you?
I'm curious, Mark, if I can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
let's get off the hair business. I know we've discussed it several times.
Wait, Mark
in the
has a
broadcast.
beautiful head of hair,
Yes,
so
excellent.
you know.
Go ahead.
But we're not playing anything from hair, is that correct?
No,
we were going
nothing
to.
from hair.
But I'm curious, Ellen, I don't know if you have the list handy. I should have brought it. Can you talk about some of the other music that's going to be part of the review? Some of the other songs, if you have it?
I definitely have it, and I'll run it down for you. When we hit the 50s, we're definitely going to be doing Lollipop. How about Hack? How about Monster Mash? How about Going to the Chapel? Sounds of Silence. Oh, and we have a great I Got You Babe coming up. It's going to be a big surprise. It's hysterical. We've got Boots Are Made for
So
Walking.
there's a shtick with some of these.
Oh, there's a shtick with
it's not
most
just
of these.
singing them. Okay.
I mean,
somebody's going to be Cher in that song,
yes,
right?
Yes, yes.
And
Somebody.
it could be Blaine.
Yep. Georgia on My Mind, YMCA, Afternoon Delight, and we have a wicked a cappella lead-in to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is just, it's going to send chills up your spine. So, yeah, that's some of the music, but a lot of these songs, as we're singing them, people will say, I know this, and will be singing with us. And Stepping Up, Yellow Submarine's one that everybody's going to know. Put a, Smile on Your Brother. That's another big one. Yeah.
The tough thing I think Ellen had with this too, even the meeting we had where you chose the music, is that you have 25, I think you said 25 or so songs, but they could have come up with another 273 more songs.
Oh, wait. At that original meeting, we had over 75 songs on the list.
I think that's the problem when you were trying to get like favorites of a decade, and you all have 3 decades to cover. I mean, we've been choosing music for this 80s party, and we now have 8 hours of music for a 4-hour party because Jeff and I keep arguing about what songs we absolutely must have. And then there's a request line, and people submit their requests, and then we have to add that in, and we have to cut out 4 hours of. So we have 4 hours too many of music for this party.
So the good thing though you'll do is just speed it up, so everything.
Right, we'll just like play everything on
like
45.
Like the Chipmunks, yeah.
Right. It's not a show. It's a dance party. So the music is not live music.
I see.
It's the recorded versions of songs or don't know, but it's actually Michael Jackson, not me, singing the original recorded versions of songs, and it's just a big dance party. It's like reliving your prom if you're me,
and you get to dance off at least 300 calories an hour.
That is true.
And the good
The
thing
FDA has not approved that representation.
the lawyer is telling us. But the good thing also on that is that that's not going to be per se a sit-down affair. We want
No,
people
it's
to
definitely not a sit-down affair.
Get up.
It is exactly what you'd think about going to, a club in the 80s. So I mean, just because the music is 80s, we're asked. Hopefully people will come dressed as the 80s. If not, we do have a hair and makeup booth available to do everyone's hair. We have crimping irons and banana clips and all of that. Lots of hairspray. Oh, please, we got the Aquanet. We're going right for reality. And so it's not a show. It's completely different than the Happy Together review.
One more time.
Information on it.
Oh, for information for all of
Please.
these events is atticsalt.org. That's attic like the top of a house, salt like salt and pepper.org. And absolutely everything we're doing for the next few months is all posted on there.
Oh, and I have something very important to say. For Asheville, there's a lot of parking there.
There is a lot of parking. It can be a little tricky, parking behind the building. If you go to our Contact Us page on atticsalt.org, there is illustrated instructions in case you're confused about which door. It's a very large building. It's an old textile mill with lots of other artisans in the building. It can be a little intimidating the first time you go, but there's really, really clear instructions on the website.
And nice thing, there's no charge to that.
There's no charge for parking, and there is a lot of parking.
So we're getting close to the top of the hour. I've been sitting with representatives from the musical review, the Happy Together review, which is going to be holding their programmatic fundraising jamboree, sing-along, play the kazoo concepts.
Extravaganza.
On extravaganza, there's a word, July 22nd and July 29th. Any sort of parting thoughts you want to make about, or do you want to sing one more closeout song? Blaine?
That would get nobody there. So that's why Ellen's just letting me get up briefly for the last song.
Okay.
But I think we have a message or.
No, we're.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the one you love and hold him tight. So happy together.
Bum-ba-da-bum-bum.
Come on, Mark. I should call you up and spend time. And you say you belong to me and ease my mind. Imagine how the world.
This
would
is
be
how live radio
so
works,
very
folks.
kind, so happy together.
Next week we'll have another guest on, probably talking about prison
So
conditions,
happy
but not today.
together.
All right, I want to thank my guests today. We had Blaine Greenfield and Marcy Bernstein, Ellen Pappas, of course, and earlier we had Ruth Planey. And I guess we'll sign off now. And again, thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having us.